Morning, Monday morning. What a gorgeous morning it is. It's absolutely stunning. What a great walk it's been. How was everyone's weekend? How's everybody doing? Is everybody well? A bit early. Ralph is crying. There's 2 wee ducks down there. Can't open it up. Good morning. Peaceful up here this morning. A big tree. Is everybody good? Everybody doing well? Right, let's get it started. Good morning. Good morning. Right, masks. Morning, Des. Morning, Alan. How are you, Mr. Cunningham? Just thinking about your dad the other day there. In fact, last night I was thinking about your dad. So, wearing masks, right? So just being completely open. Monday mornings, when I have the wee weekend off for doing these vlogs, I always find Monday very clunky. Guten Morgen, Mr. Des Begg, who was on the lager last night. Right, so, yeah, Mondays, I always find Mondays very clunky on starting off these vlogs after having the weekend off. I don't take the weekend off from walking, however, so I don't find that difficult. But I find it challenging to... Good morning, Carella. I find it challenging to think of things to talk about and stuff. But I had a great weekend. I hope you had a really good weekend. I had an actually tremendous weekend. I'm laughing because on Saturday, my buddy Gordon was like, "That you doing a walk? Aye, can I come up and walk around with you?" Aye, no bother. So we come round to do this walk, and we were just in depth conversation. We were doing more talking than we were walking, right? And hee-hawing and laughing. Anyway, we got to parallel. We got to exactly parallel where we go in swimming in the morning, and we were late. You know, I know that from the point parallel to where we go swimming, we're at least half an hour to get there. So we gets to about 10 to 8 on Saturday morning, and we could see some of the boys over on the other side, and I'm like, "Hello, are you there?" "Aye, we're here already." And we looked at each other and we were like, "Right, we're going to have to go down the banking." Yeah, we're fond of a wee bit of melodrama, the Scots, and we all can exaggerate a story, but I kid you not, this was like a cliff face, and we slid down it. It's hilarious. I've got my rucksack in my back, I'm in my shorts, and I said to Gordon before I went over, I said, "Listen," I said, "you just stay where you are." I said, "I'm going to swim over, and I'll empty my bag and I'll come back and get your stuff." No, he didn't listen. Halfway over, he's tried to cross the river with his bag in one hand like this, nearly drowned. Not that that would be funny, but it was a hoot. And yeah, hope you had a great weekend. I had a really good weekend, and it's simple to talk about what we were talking about over the weekend. So I walked with Gordon on Saturday. Saturday, I can't remember what I did during the day. I went for pizza, went into Glasgow, had a really good time. Sunday, my buddy Clark, 7 o'clock start on Sunday, and we had a great walk and we had a great talk. So, waffling away, we're wearing masks. So, metaphorically we're wearing masks, but right now, I don't know what country you're listening to, whether it's morning, night time, afternoon, whatever, but I don't know if you've escaped it, but it's mandatory for us to wear masks while we go shopping, right? And I'm just wondering what it feels like for you to be wearing these masks. How does it feel to wear these masks? Because what I'm noticing is that you don't have to wear them walking down the high street. You don't have to wear them in the house. You don't have to wear them when you're driving the car, right? But they are now mandatory. Wear them going into shops, and it's mandatory to wear masks going into shops and petrol stations and stuff like that, right? So pretty much most of the place you go where there's other people, you've got to put a mask on. Now, what I'm noticing is when I'm walking down the high street where I don't legally have to wear a mask, but there's people wearing a mask, real or not real, right? I'm being accountable that I could be making this up completely. That I feel as if I'm being judged, right? But on the same token, if I see somebody coming into a shop that's not wearing a mask, like one day I was in a shop and there was a woman walking around that didn't wear a mask, and I felt a wee bit irritated inside, pretty close to saying, do you no need to wear a mask, right? And was I reacting to her not wearing a mask because I am super cleanly around the germs and the COVID-19, or am I just being a bit crabbit and nippy about her not wearing a mask because of the amount of effort that I need to put into remembering a mask before I go out and go to the shops? Complicated, right? So, masks, wearing masks. We're all now wearing masks. It's became normal. I'm finding it that I'm being a little bit intrusive as well when I've got my mask on and I'm looking at somebody that's at the checkout and they've got a mask on, and I'm looking, I feel as if I'm burying into their eyes. I feel as if I'm like glaring right into their eyes to try and get a kind of connection or a felt sense, even if I know this person. So there was this girl in Morrison's the other day there, right? A mask on, and I kind of could sense she's connecting with me, right? Okay, cool, right? So she's looking, and then it's like this guessing game, right? No idea who it is. And I'm like that, hello, through my mask, speaking through my mask. And they're saying hello back, and we're chitter-chatting as we're going through that self-scanning checkout thing. And I went, are you the girl the loop the other day? You were with a friend? Yeah, that's me. Goodness, it was like a game of charades trying to find out at the checkout who's the person standing beside you because of these masks. Anyway, I'm just wondering how it's filtering in to each of us, and is it just me? Is it just me that's stoating about with this mask on? It's like car keys, mobile phone. Now you've got to take your bag for life to the shops. It's like before I leave for it, I need a rucksack to go to the shops. It's like, I've got to put my rucksack on, car keys, mobile phone, bag for life, mask. Anything else I've got to remember before I've got wallet, money. Well, that's okay, if I forgot my wallet, I can pay through my phone. Right? Anyway, masks, that got me thinking. And some of the conversations, and the conversation that I had with Gordon over the weekend, where he nearly died climbing down the side of the Eiger, and Clark yesterday when we were walking, was around about masks and the metaphorical masks and not being authentic, and how we're not being authentic, and how we are portraying to the world. We portray to the world something very different from what we are. Now, for those of you that know me, those of you that may not, but I have been in recovery for ages, right? Decades. Now, being authentic and sharing our truth. You can go to a meeting and you can share, and lots of people that go and share just want to be the funniest person in the meeting room, or they want to tell the most horrific story in the meeting room. And for me, that's just exactly the same as getting likes on Facebook, rather than just telling your story from a place of authenticity. The second thing that we're taught in recovery is let go of the outcome. Surrender. Surrender your control. Because every step that you have to do, you have to take it from a place of surrendering. And last but not least, do your work. Do the work that's hard and difficult. And work that's hard and difficult, what I mean by that is being vulnerable and exposing ourselves. And that's something that we've not been taught. So it's almost like we've developed this personality, this persona that we show the world that we're doing okay, that things are okay. So I'm constantly questioning, not constantly, I take time off, wasn't questioning what was going on for the guy when he made my pizza on Saturday. I managed to go out and enjoy that. But one of the things that's been going on for me since the West Highland Way, which was a huge challenge for me, it's the beginning of many challenges that I'm going to start to do, but this is a new thing for me, is doing mega amounts of miles. I do a 10k every day. This is all new. I've not been a fitness fanatic all my life. This is something that I've just took up in the last, I don't know, however many years, right? But anyway, I did this West Highland Way challenge, and it was bloody hard, I'm not going to deny it. The first day was 37 miles, and so on and so forth. It was just a challenge. And what I've noticed, and what I shared with Clark yesterday, was since I came back, I have been eating like an absolute animal. I have been eating 2 dinners. I've been eating huge amounts of food. And yeah, I've put a bit of weight on. I'm tall, so I carry it pretty well, but I have put a bit of weight on, right? And I just was talking it through with Clark, and he said, what do you think that's about? I said, well, it can only be 2 things, right? I said, number one, that the walk has brought up, it's sort of shook the snow globe and brought up some kind of trauma. It's brought something up inside me that unconsciously I've not yet seen and I don't want to look at. And I'm eating my way through it because I don't do drugs and alcohol. When I notice that something's going on for me, because I'm not using it, I can't just go and have a bottle of wine or whatever, I'll eat my body weight in carbohydrates. I said, or I'm carb loading because of the amount of exercise that I've started doing. I'm craving carbohydrates like crazy. So we had this conversation yesterday. There was no thoughts around about starting a diet, changing my behaviour. I was just open, honest, authentic, real, vulnerable with a friend that I value and trust. And normally my patterns are I wake up at 5:30, have a coffee, get myself out of the house any time before 6 so I can get up there for 7 and be at the water for 8 so I can be in, showered and ready and at my desk for 9. That's my pattern of behaviour. So without even thinking this morning, I didn't make any coffee. So as I'm walking round here, I never had a coffee this morning. Why didn't I have a coffee this morning? I've already started to look at changing my eating habits that had became and started to become destructive. Now, why am I talking about this? I don't actually know why I'm talking about this. I'm just rambling because it's Monday. I always find Mondays clunky. Wearing masks, right? Personalities we start to portray to the world, which is fundamentally a lie. Some of the scientific evidence that we've looked at is 75% of people in social media put a photo up to show their life that it's going great, but in actual fact, it's lesser than that in the truth. So we're now in a world where we're wearing masks to cover up a large percentage of how we communicate. Our mouth. We communicate with our mouths, and we're covering our mouths up, and we're wearing masks in the outside world. But what I'm interested in is the masks that we're wearing in the inside world. For what reason do we feel that we've got to portray to the world? It was like I've admitted to anybody, I've got no shame in standing up now and talking about the amount of money and time that I gave to gurus and chasing them around the world. And just another addiction, really. Another indulgence, because I'm such an indulgent twat. And, putting up pictures. Oh, there's Ross with Paul McKenna. Or Ross has went for dinner with Paul McKenna. There's Ross with Stephen Rudden or Ronald Rudden. Or there's Ross with such and such. As you can look through my Facebook page, I'm sure there's probably a couple, but the majority of them have all been deleted. Now, go and look at somebody that's done a 2-day course, right? They've done a 2-day course. Do you think that is validation to be a professional, a health professional? Let's go do a 2-day course, right? And then now what they're doing is they strategically put up in place these sort of 2 pillars of the course content. These 2, those roll-up pillars, right? pull up these two things, they're 25 quid on Vistaprint or something like that. They're just crap, right? And then what they then do is you then get a hold of you like the red carpet, and then they do this Photoshop opportunity. So somebody goes and does a 2-day training course, don't they? Right? Look at them, look around about you. Look at your Facebook friends, right? And there's a picture of you standing like a complete and utter napals, right? With your arm round Paul McKenna. And how false is that reality? How false is that? So conversations so friends, for me, right? This is what I was thinking as well over the weekend. I was thinking, what's my greatest weakness? What's my greatest weakness? Now, you get in for a job interview, right? And they're like, all right, what's your greatest weakness? Oh, I work too hard. Well, I see how you've done that. You've put a negative slant on a positive attribute, right? And you notice how in job interviews, like, what's your greatest weakness? Somebody would turn round and they give these kind of narcy fancy answers, right? But if you're doing the 12 steps, right, if you're in recovery and you're doing it right, that's your character flaws, right? Where is your character flaws? So my greatest weakness probably had been obsessively wanting something until I got it and then couldn't get any joy out of it, right? So that was a character flaw. That was a weakness. So surrendered to that fact, and I never really felt contentment with very many things. And thank the Lord, now I've got it back. I want the volume turned down. I tell you why, I've just had my Land Rover sign written, right? And it's parked outside my hall window, which I've got a toilet next to my bedroom that looks right next to that car window. And, male over 40, I'm up and down to the toilet half a dozen times through the night. And I just stand, it's like I'm going to have to park my car somewhere else because I get so excited by it. It's like the amount of joy that I've got about having my car sign written and looking at my car or whatever angle it's at, it's a completely different feeling. So I now get massive amounts of joy out of things that I want, because the reason that I want them is not to fill up some kind of void that's within me. The reason I've got them is because I'm deserving of them now, and I've worked towards them. It took me 3 years to get that Land Rover. So I had a Land Rover Defender. I got rid of it 3 years ago. My favourite car. Absolutely loved it. And got rid of it. And then I went into a bit of a financially difficult time, and I was using this old bloody thing that was... I used this old bloody car for a couple of years until I got myself in a position, and as I said, I bought my little Mini, and then I had that for 3 years. I've actually still got it, don't want to let it go. And then I've got myself together where I've been able to buy a Land Rover. Now, that was another thing. I had a Bentley at the weekend, right? And I was cruising about in this Bentley. I had it for like 24 hours, and I was talking to my buddy about it, and it was like, that kind of stuff does not bring me any value at all. Now, yes, it was nice. Yeah, it was really quick. But getting the opportunity to drive, a car like that and have it for 12 hours or whatever, 24 hours, to see where I'm at, that's the polar opposite to who I am. So why I'm telling you that is, things in the past like that would have been a mask for me. I'm wondering where you're wearing a mask, because I can talk about myself all day long, right? It's how authentic are we being, or are we in this false world? This world that promotes falseness, which promotes separation, which doesn't support integrity, which doesn't support you to be vulnerable. But vulnerability is the birthplace for joy and creativity and laughter, right? I never had friends. I had acquaintances that I would either allow myself to be used by or use them. I am so delighted that I am, honestly, it's like when people asked you during the coronavirus how you getting on, you felt bad about saying great. I noticed that I feel bad about saying it. I have actually genuinely got a fantastic life, a great life, which has came through hard work, commitment, accepting the things that I can't change, surrendering my control, right? And this is the way it is. Now, yeah, there's lots of areas in my life that could be better, but they're out with my control, right? There's areas in my life where I haven't seen my daughter for a couple of years. Does that grind on me? Well, it must grind on her, so it doesn't really matter about me, right? Because I grew up without a father, and I know what it's like to not have a father. So I know that when you wander around bumping into or passing somebody in the street, you think, is that my dad? He looks like my dad. Is that my dad? It's not really my dad at all. It's just a stranger in the street, right? So, but on the positive spin of that, my little pal Lily, she's 9. She came in to visit last night, and we made juice, and we were being creative, and we were drawing, and we were doing all the stuff. So it might not be my daughter, it's somebody else's daughter, and we have a mutual respect for one another, and the masks get to drop, because it's great to be with a 9-year-old, and the masks get to drop, and you can get to experience joy and laughter in other ways. So it's like surrendering our fact. So people walk about wanting people to think that they're successful, or people walk around wanting people to think that they are something that they're not, that actually inside they're kidding on that their relationship's great. They're putting up the holiday pictures, snapping the holiday pictures on this fancy place, on this fancy pier, checking their cell into these fancy places, as if showing the world that their relationship's absolutely phenomenal, when in actual fact their relationship's in total dire straits. Now, I've been there. I've had dire straits relationships, you know, and don't need to be a rocket scientist. I had very, very little self-esteem growing up. I had very little self-esteem, and there's a huge correlation between having low self-esteem and going into destructive relationships. Okay, so what do you need to change? The fact that you're in destructive relationships or just increase your self-esteem? Seems pretty logical, but it's harder to actually change that. So masks, wearing masks, being authentic, okay? First port and call, which is being vulnerable. Second thing that we need to do is let go of any outcome. Surrender our control. Surrender before we can actually begin to accept that our life is unhappy, unmanageable, it's difficult, we're struggling, okay? Which then has a correlation effect with being vulnerable, okay? And being authentic, telling the truth, right? And see if you end up in a place where you get to a job interview and there's a blank for a year. I've got this blank for a year because I actually lied on my job interview. What did you do for that full year? Well, I was actually a raving alcoholic. I sat in the house and never came out. What am I going to tell my interviewer when I get interviewed? Tell them the truth, right? Be authentic, because it's not about getting the job. It's about you being honest to yourself and starting to tell the truth to yourself. And the last thing, 3 really simple points about dissolving the mask and dissolving the ego is do your hard work. Now, a lot of the personal development programs that I see jumping about right now, they're no day in the work. I'm sorry to say, they're just no day in the work, right? And there's very little authenticity. There's a dude locally here, and I watched one of his vlogs, and he said something along the lines of, on this vlog, if I can date him, they can date. I'm just a joiner, or whatever he is. And I was like, no, you're not. You're not just a joiner. You're not just a joiner. That is unauthentic. But the funny thing is, one of his teachers, who's quite a well-known name, who he's either an instructor with or he's now not an instructor with, but he is an instructor with when it suits him to be an instructor of it. But then he'll tell people that he's not an instructor, and the reason he's not an instructor with this guru guy that's well-known, he's been in breakfast TV and everything like that, and he is a pretty sharp guy who's valued. He's jumping about telling MD that will listen that this guy's not authentic, right? So clinically, looking at it psychologically, we've got this guy that's a coach, which isn't really a coach because he did 2 days in NLP in 1994. Doesn't actually have any qualifications, apart from that he's a joiner. And he wants to tell everybody that that's what I'm just a joiner. But you're not just a joiner, mate. And the thing that you're judging your teacher for, who's actually on TV, got his own radio shows, he's getting interviewed by everybody, he's a well-known name, and he climbed Everest in his bare feet, is that you're telling everybody that he's not authentic. But in actual fact, it's you that's not authentic, mate. Because you're not just a joiner. Your dad's a multi-millionaire, right? Both your kids go to private school. You've got about 400 grand's worth of hussies and 100 grand's worth of cars parked outside your door. So I'm sorry, unless they're selling drugs on the side, I don't know any joiners, unless they own their own joinery build business, which you don't because you work for your daddy, is that's not authentic. Yet you've got a load of people that want to follow you through your non-authenticness. Now, that doesn't say so much about that individual. My concern is more about the people that want to follow a programme that's not authentic, right? For last year, exactly a year ago, I was at a wedding, right? And there was these two people at it that were spiritual people, right? Spiritual people, girls, right? And they were absolutely wasted on something, certainly drink, right? They were completely and utterly spangled. And I went outside, I walked outside, and there was one of the girls, half naked, with one of the other guys. She's got a husband at home, right? And she's with one of the guys that's at the wedding, and the pair of them are starting, there's lipstick all over each of their faces, right? And then the next day, at the beach, I'm lying on a, what do you call those things? Sun lounger. And they're giving Reiki to people on the beach. And I'm just watching them and I'm like, wow, like, where do you think that's authentic? It's like, A, you were completely and utterly wasted on at least alcohol, if not some kinds of substances, I don't know, right? You've got a husband that's at home looking after your kid, right? You're at a wedding and you are fornicating with someone outside, and then 12 hours later you're probably still hungover, went home to your husband, and you're now giving Reiki on the beach. And it's like, really? Right, I've been blethering that long. So this is where Gordon and I, right, for those of you that have been walking at the beginning, right, can you see that descent? On Saturday morning, Gordon, my pal, came up to see me, and we were running late because we were blethering, and we thought we'd get down there. Right, anyway, I was away blethering there, right? I got lost in translation a little bit, but wearing masks and how we're presenting to the world the exact opposite of what's actually going on inside. And it's like, the more you get to know people that have got nice furnishings and nice lives and nice cars or nice clothes, or they've got a nice job, and you speak to them, they're actually really unhappy. They're actually really, really, really unhappy. So why are we putting as much effort into propping up a system that's false with masks, right? Giving our power away to people that aren't authentic, that aren't real, right? You know, really think about it. Do you want to take your son or daughter to see a doctor? Now, I'm not saying that Western medicine's fantastic, right? But do you want to take your son or daughter who's got a skin condition, right, to see somebody that's trained at university for a decade, right, or somebody that's done an online course on naturopath, right, or, I don't even know if that's a word, I'm a naturopath, where'd you get your qualification? Well, it was 19 quid. It was 19 quid on one of those Facebook ads, right? Ask yourself these questions, right? Do you want to go and see somebody that's working in a profession that's a coach that's not even a regulated profession? Coaching is not a regulated profession, right? The guy that's walking towards me right now with his dog, right? He's got a company that rents out Portaloos. I know that for a fact. He's about 500 metres up here walking towards me now, right? He could go home today and turn round and say that he's a life coach, right? Now, he might have some experiences because he's went through addiction or whatever, but he didn't have to go to university. He didn't have to do any hours of training or do case studies or case notes or any stuff like that. And it's like, if you want to go and see somebody that does hypnosis, or like rapid hypnosis, 2-day course in London, 495, or do you go and see a clinical hypnotherapy that spent 3 years at the Clinical Institute of Hypnotherapy for 3 years in London and travelled up and down from Glasgow at least once a month in order to do it? Now, that's a level of commitment. It's asking yourself these questions. Why are we falling into the fake? Oh, because they're popular. because everybody's going to see them. It's like, that's the in thing to do. You go and see this coach because, well, he works with celebrities. This coach works with celebrities. But that makes them great. Or does that just make you a sheep that's following the herd? Now, why are we wearing masks? Why are we so scared of our own authenticity and scared of our own vulnerability and scared of our own wounds, right? And we're scared of exposing them, okay? Why is it that we're following little clip art, pop psychology, little things, and we're not actually getting out the bit? Because if we actually paid attention to even 10% of the pop art clips or quotes that were written on Facebook feed walls, right, we would be living in a completely different world. We'd be living in a completely different place. And I'm wondering what's scary about that. What do you need to let go of in order to inhabit a more authentic life where you're free of wearing any masks, metaphorically? I'm very curious how you're finding wearing masks in shops. I'm struggling like hell with it. I'm struggling with hell like remembering them. And I know that Morrison's have got a wee box of them, or did until Sunday. So if you did forget them, you could help yourself to a couple. But remembering it's difficult. Actually connecting with people with a mask on, I'm really struggling with. And do you know, sometimes I get a wee bit of a fright. Sometimes I walk around the corner and see somebody with a mask on and I think I'm going to get robbed. It's like I put my hands up. Right, take my shopping, which I've not paid for yet. Have my basket. Right, so just some thoughts, Monday thoughts, reflections for the week that's coming. Speaking about lockdown, what we've learned in lockdown, what we've missed in lockdown, what could we have done differently in lockdown, what lessons have we taken from lockdown, how are we going to move those forward, and most importantly, with anything that we do, whether that's the West Highland Way that a bunch of us just went and did, we're gravitating towards doing the Great Glen Way, all of them we do in 3 days. It's not the actual doing it that's hard, it's reintegrating back. Because you've just joined with 16 guys, 16 wonderful men. We're going away again, half a dozen of us at least, to do the Great Glen Way. Wonderful guys, all with the same intention, all with great, phenomenal mindsets, all really valued people that I've got a lot of respect for. And then all of a sudden you come home, you're sitting in the house. What's the real life? Is the real life out walking in those hills? Or is the real life sitting in here watching Netflix? Right, and it's the come down after it. And that's the same with anything. Like, we've come out of lockdown, we've moved back, the world's opening back up again, things are starting to become busier again, traffic in our streets, our high streets are difficult. Are we finding that we're more stressed or less stressed with that? These are just, I think, very real conversations that I think are being missed, and unless we have them now, they are inevitably going to catch up with us. And the next pandemic that we are going to see is a pandemic of anxiety or depression or rage or addiction even, or feelings of insecurity or inadequacy that's been bred out of this new social contagion of COVID-19. But enough of that. Hope you had a great weekend. I had an absolute dandy weekend. It was absolutely amazing. And I'm not just saying that, I had like a belter of a weekend. I was away being a Land Rover pervert and looking at Land Rovers and chatting to other Land Rover guys and just like doing Land Rover stuff and eating pizza, and that's it. I'm all charged up. I feel really refreshed and ready to start my week and get to my desk for 9 o'clock. So sending you peace and love from somewhere in the Clyde Walkway. I don't actually know where I am, but you know, walking at the side of the Clyde. Have a great day. All the best.